Hello, everyone. Sorry for not reacting. I'm clicking to accept everyone. I have to do it one by one. Hello. So we're going to wait for the others to join a couple of minutes, and then we will start first by presenting the 2060 Foundation and what we are doing here, and then allowing our two entrepreneurs to pitch. Okay, so I will start by doing a short presentation of the 2060 Foundation, who is bearing the initiative of the 2060 pitches. So I will start sharing my screen. Okay, so you should see it. Right now. So the 2060 Foundation has this purpose of defeating aging by before 2060, hopefully earlier, but since it's a very difficult goal to achieve, we're still thinking long term. So first and foremost, a couple of things about the 2060 Foundation. So the most important, it's a nonprofit. We are not trying to earn money here. We are trying to help the longevity ecosystem carry their research and go further with understanding the mechanisms of aging, helping us to live longer and healthier. We have more than 200 members, not all of them, full time, but helping here and there. And our flagship project right now is part of what you're seeing right now, which is animating a longevity investment club, where investors agree on promising startups and fund them on a case-per-case basis. Another component and project we're working on right now is the 2060 Longevity Forum, which is going to take place on the 30th and 31st of August 2025 in the south of France. So, guys, you're all invited. Our focus is to showcase longevity as the best investment opportunity of modern times. And as such, we're going to bring investors of all sizes and shapes, institutional investors, private investors, venture capital funds, business angels, limited partners, and so on. Family offices, of course, and also invite startups to showcase their longevity projects and eventually raise funds. So the website, if you want to take a look and feel interested in the initiative, is forum.2060.life. So as I told you, we are more than 200 members, but we have a core team. And as you can see, there's entrepreneurs who have exited startups, such as myself, for example, experts in AI, and people from biotech also, such as Stephanie and Manish, who has worked for the Buck Institute for many years, and also Luisa working at the National Institute on Aging in the United States. So you guys may have heard of Brian Kennedy. He's one of the most well-known experts in longevity, has been director of the Buck Institute for many years before joining the Singapore University, and leading right now the Department of Biochemistry and Physiology. And he's our advisory board member, helping us with networking and also expertise. Basically, there will be the meeting today is going to take 1 hour, and we have two startups pitching. One of them is called Ouch by Julien Moussalli, who is here, and the second one is EVerZom by Nicolas Rousseau, who is also here. Hello, Nicolas. So that being said, let's get going. All right. So, Julian, you have 10 minutes to pitch, and then we are going to have 10 minutes of question and answers.
That's
I'm going to
amazing.
stop
Thank you,
sharing my
Gabriel.
screen.
Yeah,
So please go
good.
ahead, share your screen, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gabriel, for the invite. Hi, everyone. Very happy and glad to be here today, sharing what we do with Ouch. My name is Julien Moussalli. I'm one of the co-founder of Ouch. I've been working in the life science industry since the past 10 years now, first as a consultant with IQVIA, a company that you may know. And I've always been working around health-related topic and data-related topics. With Ouch, we are tackling the 21st century's most pressing public health concern, and I'm coming back to this within a few seconds. But first, I wanted to share a few words about who we are behind Ouch. I'm one of the co-founder, and I'm working with Pierre Nectou. We both know each other since the past 7 years now. We have worked on a previous company, a startup which was called WeFight. We've raised more than 10 millions euros in Series A. We generated more than 10 millions in revenue with pharmaceutical companies, and we have created more than 40 apps on the Apple Store and Google Play, which we've launched in more than 18 countries, and we've had 600,000 users of our apps on a daily basis. So not the first time we are launching a company in the healthcare sector, I would say. The key problem that we have identified within our industry is that patients in 2025 are still struggling to consistently adhere to healthcare providers' healthy behaviors and recommendations. I mean, when it comes to understanding what HCPs are referring to when it comes to having healthy habits, it's four very simple habits that are also promoted by the United Nations. These are first, healthy weight, healthy diets, not smoking, and having a regular physical activity. These very simple four habits can reduce by 80% the risk of developing the most common and deadly chronic diseases. And I mean, nowadays in 2025, 70% of deaths are currently due to chronic diseases. So when you understand that, you may ask why people are not following those recommendations. And the simple answer is that HCPs, I mean, once they have this discussion with their patients, patients will adopt those recommendations for like 2 or 3 days. But when they are alone at home, they completely forget it and they don't follow this path. So that's exactly what we are working on. And we are designing a very specific pathway, specifically tailored for chronic diseases management, which is complementary to the existing healthcare system, and it's focused beyond medication. So we are not developing specific drugs, but we are leveraging gamification apps, reward system to make sure that we change patients' behavior towards their healthcare. So to do that, we have launched an app which is called Ouch. And this app helps you identify your symptoms trigger factors. So it's very simple to use. It's also free to use. Patients will connect into the app. We will ask them questions about their daily habits, what they've eaten, how much water they had today, what was their physical activity, time spent on screens, stuff like that. And we will then correlate these activities with the symptoms that they have and the severity of their daily symptoms. By doing so, we will be able to identify what we call trigger factors, and we will have daily challenges and routines that will be pushed to these patients so that they minimize their exposition to those trigger factors. Now, the more patients will adhere to those challenges and routine, the more points they will get. That's part of the reward and gamification system. So we are leveraging what we like within our favorite apps, I would say. I mean, with my partner, we are using a lot Strava, for instance, or Duolingo. Those apps are very much based on a reward and gamification system. That's exactly what we're implementing now within the healthcare sector. We want to change behaviors of patients toward their health. And we believe that by implementing very simple routines on a daily basis, they will be able to live longer and better in a good shape and help them manage their symptoms. With these rewards and by being active into the app, patients can get paid up to 250 euros per year, and they can either redeem their points into a bank account transfer or cash donation to patient associations. We've launched the app back in October 2024, a bit more than 6 months now. We have 5,000 daily active users. We have collected more than 1 million data points directly from the app. We have 10,000 subscriptions to our routines on the app, a strong note on the stores. And the most promising metric here is that after only 1 month of utilization of the platform, we have more than 22% increase in quality of life when it comes to patients' follow-up and monitoring with their current chronic disease. The business that we are running is based on data. I mean, we don't have patients paying for the service that we offer, but within the utilization of the app, we push questionnaires to patients. So basically, we run market research and we run studies with patients. We sell these studies to pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Roche, Sanofi, and we basically sell data to those life sciences companies. This is one of the first studies that we have conducted with a medical data company, which is called SquareMind. It's a very simple study that we sold 18,000 euros. We generate more than 80% in gross margin. So it's a very scalable business that we are running here. And the key differentiators that we have compared to the historic, I would say, competitors such as Kantar or Ipsos, for instance, are the fact that we are running internally our own platform to engage and collect data from the users, which help us fasten the conduct of the study by up to 70%. We have also the gamified platform, so we have more patients participating into our studies. And both Pierre and I have been working in this data-related space since the past 10 years now. We are currently raising 600,000 in equity in order to build up our team. We are just the two of us today. We have a strong traction from the market and a first project that we've actually conducted. And we need now to scale this project. So we need people in marketing. We need people on the product side and the dev side as well. And we want to become the number one player in Europe when it comes to real-world data and patient-generated health data. We have a nice competitor that are working in the US. The company is called EVerZom. They tried to come to Europe 3 years back. They completely failed. They didn't have specific understanding of GDPR compliance and all data-related topics when it comes to health data compliance in Europe. But this is something that we have, and we want to take this spot of European leader on this market. In terms of financial metrics, we want to reach 2.8 million in revenue by the end of 2027, and we want to reach profitability as well by the end of 2027. That's pretty much what I wanted to share within a 10 minutes range, and I hope that I've been clear enough. I'm happy to take any questions that you have, guys.
Thank you, Julien. I will start asking a question and be the icebreaker. Why do you need the money? I mean, you have a profitable business, you have your platform, you already generate revenue, you sold one study for 18,000. Maybe it would be easy to get like 3, 5, 4, 5, and so on studies. Doesn't this look like a path to profitability being bootstrapped?
It's one thing to be bootstrapped. It's another thing to become the leader on the European markets. I mean, I'm quite sure that we can run a bootstrap company, small, medium-sized company with 5, 10 people. But it's another thing to raise capital early in the development process recruit some resources to take the European market. I mean, we don't aim at becoming a French nice player. We really want to take it to the next level as soon as possible and jump from the 18K revenue deals that we are doing up to the 100 or 200K deals that you get at the European level. That's really a matter of scalability and ambition, I would say. That's the key reason why we are raising funds.
Yes, makes sense. Thank you. Does anyone have questions? I do still have lots of questions, by the way. So
Yeah, I have a question. Hi. Hi, Julien. Thanks for the presentation. Can you repeat the name of the American competitor and why did they fail going on the European market? What happened actually?
They are called EVerZom. They raised more than 150 million USD. They made 40 million last year. They tried to come to the European market 3 years back. They basically sent 10 Americans in London to open up the European affiliates. They didn't have proper understanding about GDPR related topics, compliance, how you sell data in Europe, the anonymization process compared to the pseudonymization process in the US. It's a complete different story, and they didn't have this experience or expertise, and they went back to the US directly. We have been doing some consulting work with the ex-CEO of the company, and we see that, I mean, the European market is now ready for this type of data. The European affiliates of large American pharmaceutical companies are asking for this type of data. And we basically, I mean, it's not a copycat, but we clearly want to replicate the success of EVerZom, EVIDATION, that their success in the US, to replicate it in Europe.
Okay, thanks for the information.
what can you tell us about the stickiness of users with your app?
Yeah, very good question. There are way too many digital health or health-related apps on the Apple Store or Google Play. More than 100,000 actually from the last report that I've seen. The top 10% of these apps, they have 8% retention after 1 month of usage. It's terrible, very bad, very low. We have, after 1 month of usage, 60% of retention on the app. The app has been launched since 6 months only. The secret recipe, I would say, behind that is that not only we focus on a direct-to-patient approach through the app with in-app notification, emailing, etc. What we also do is that we have automatized the AI phone call, for instance. When we see a patient dropping out of the app, we have a call that is being planned. We call back the patients. We ask them to come back directly into the app. We also do some SMS. We do some WhatsApp. So we have strong stickiness on the app. The other thing that I want to share here is that 80% of our app users are more than 55 years old. They are not young population using our app. These are people that are suffering from chronic diseases. They want to learn more about their disease. They want to find new routines and challenges to enhance their quality of life. And these people, they are not familiar with all these apps and the tools that are available for younger populations. So we are basically creating an app for older patients populations, and we are well aware of that.
Very interesting. Thank you for the clarification. I have another question. So, thinking of my own personal situation, the idea of creating, to clarifying the correlation between some triggers and some pains is very interesting. For example, I have right now I have some pain in my shoulder, and sometimes it hurts, sometimes it doesn't hurt, and I'm really thinking what is triggering this. And I have different hypotheses, right? But it's very difficult to understand. It's not like one thing. It's maybe a mixture of something. Maybe I'm practicing too intense activity, like sports. Maybe sometimes I'm stressed out, so I'm sort of contracting this muscle. So it's not very clear. And this is exactly the complexity I'm dealing with, that I don't know exactly what I have to do. And then I have a table which might me not be ergonomic enough. So, there's different things. So is your app able to sort of help me with dealing with this complexity?
Definitely. We would ask you several questions about your daily habits, if you have been practicing sports, if you had enough water hydration during the day, if you smoked a cigarette, for instance, if you drank alcohol. And then we will ask you the level of severity of your symptoms of your shoulder pain daily. And after that, we will be able to identify a few correlation with a confidence interval of 80%. It depends of the level of data that you share. And then we will test some routines. For instance, we will tell you that tomorrow you need to work minimum 1,000 steps. And then we will ask you again for the severity of your symptoms. Once we are confident that we have identified a trigger factor for your specific pain or symptoms, we will work on that. And the algorithms will build up specific challenges. So these are like monthly challenges in crescendo. So basically, the first day you will need to work 1,000 steps. Then the second week it will be 3,000, etc. And then this is supposed to reduce your symptoms and pain and increase your quality of life directly. And the more you come to the app to confirm that you have done your challenge, the more points you get. So we really basically pay patients to take care of themselves.
And
Very, very interesting.
yeah, sorry, you assume that the patient already knows what
Correct.
condition they have, like because they can make mistakes and say I have like a chronic pain on my shoulder, but and it's due to like sports that I do, but instead it's like arthrosis or it's something else. If you give like a specific routine to someone who actually doesn't really know what's their pain is, it can be harmful and very dangerous for them. What do you think?
Yeah, true. Very, very good points. We have 99% of the community that are coming from diagnostic. So they share with us their prescription from an healthcare professional. So they are asthma patients diagnosed with asthma since the past 10 years. They are atopic dermatitis patients. They are diabetes patients. So they already have a condition. That's 99% of our user communities. For those who don't share the prescription and the diagnostic from a healthcare provider, we are, very light in terms of recommendation, and we ask them to go and visit an healthcare professional. We are not doing any specific recommendation on their condition, and we don't do any assumption, and our algorithms are not made for that.
Very interesting. What about the data that you provide to big pharma? I mean, I have two questions. First is, how do you deal with AI and data privacy? Because you may be using all sorts of LLM models that are in the cloud, and you don't know exactly what goes in and how the data is managed. First question. And second, what kind of questions do pharma companies have? I mean, not the specifics, but the general category of questions or examples.
Okay, so in terms of data storage first, all the data are stored in Europe. If we go out of Europe, for instance, in the US, all the data needs to be stored in the Europe. That's the only key principle that we have when it comes to data storage. When it comes to data usage, we need to ask patients for their consent for the data to be leveraged for research purposes with pharmaceutical companies. So every time a patient gets into the app, they need to sign this consent that says, yes, the data will be leveraged and sold to specific third-party vendors for those study objectives and for research purposes. So that's the first thing, and that's a key element here of GDPR when it comes to health data. For the pharmaceutical companies, they ask questions about, they are really interested in understanding how the patients will react in a real life basis with their treatments. For instance, what are the adverse events of my treatments? Why will the patients take my treatment versus the treatment of the competitor? Why after 2 weeks of treatments, the patients will stop the treatments, whereas the physician told them that they needed to take this treatment for 1 month, for instance? Why is there a dropout rate after 2 weeks? So these are the questions that they will ask directly into the community. So they are like weekly or monthly or quarterly questions that we push directly to the community. And the pharma company, they get a fee, an access fee through a SaaS license to ask questions directly to the community.
Okay. Thanks, Julian. How do you value your company so far? So you're raising 600,000 euros. What
Correct.
valuation?
2.5 million.
Okay. And what is the, do you have any commitment so far? And what is the minimum ticket you're accepting?
We do have 200K of commitments, and the minimum ticket is 10K.
Okay. Okay, very interesting. No more questions on my side. Okay, so I think we're going to jump to the next startup. All the information and contact information is shared with the investors. So they are going to have your investment deck, the one you have provided in the initial form, and they will be able to reach out to you directly and eventually invest. And by the way, we also have like the 2060 Longevity Investment Club. And we'll look carefully at this opportunity and get back to you independently.
Okay, clear. Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you very much, Julien. So, Nicolas, it's your turn now. Please go ahead. We are all
Hello,
ears.
everyone. Thank you, Gabriel, for this great opportunity. I will share my screen. Can you see my screen?
We do. Yes.
Full screen?
Perfect. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, perfect.
It's not, yeah, it's good. Good.
Okay, perfect. Well, so EVerZom, what the aim of EVerZom is to revolutionize the cell and gene therapy space and healthcare thanks to exosomes. So we are developing treatments and a platform with exosomes. So the company was founded by myself. I have and Jen Volatron. So my background is biomedical engineering. I'm mostly in charge of business development, admin, and fundraising. My co-founder, she has more academic background. She has biophysics PhD. She's more in charge of running the team, the science, but we are really both involved in the strategy of the company. So we founded the company in 2019. It's based on more than 10 years of research from the University of Paris. We received so far 7 million of financing to develop our platform. So 1 million was equity funding and 6 million from non-dilutive funding from the EU and French BPI. That really enabled us to develop our innovation, to patent it. So we have 5 patents protecting our platform, and we really build robust manufacturing and scale-up capabilities. We are currently raising 10 million to make a first clinical proof of concept, to industrialize our platform, and to build partnership with pharma company. So it will be probably quite obvious for you, but we are so focused on the regenerative medicine space, and we know that the body is always in constant renewal. So when you have a bone fracture, meal burns, even your stomach, there's a weekly renewal. But many pathologies, the body is not enough and not alone sufficient to regenerate damaged tissue. So in neurodegenerative disease, in Parkinson, when you have an heart attack, when you have chronic disease, your body is not sufficient anymore. And there are more than 150 million patients worldwide suffering without any efficient therapeutic solution. Only treatment that treats the symptoms, but not really the root cause and regenerative the tissue. So in the years 2000, there have been new hope with stem cells. So what are stem cells? Stem cells are the cells that help you to regenerate in your body. And so the idea was to take these cells and to re-inject it. But there is kind of safety risk to use these stem cells, and they're very complicated to industrialize because of storage, so it's living organism, and it's difficult to unload and very variable. But the way so a stem cell work is that they release factor in the body. So we say that the effect is more with the juice of the stem cells, and the scientific word for stem cell juice is more exosomes. So exosomes are nanoparticles released by cells that contain biomolecules that RNA, protein, and growth factor. And so they're like the FedEx of your cells. So in your body, you have 10 times more exosomes than cells that are really here to communicate in your blood, in your saliva, and urine. So they're really key to human biology. And because of this key proprietary, there have been a kind of huge academic research in the field since 15 years, so more than 8,000 papers yearly and 25 clinical trials. There have been also on the industrial side, many different companies in the US, in Asia and Europe that have raised significant money to work in either pulmonary regeneration, aesthetic, and so on. There have been also some partnership with a pharma company like Takeda and Lilly. If we could focus a bit more on aging, there's around 1,500 studies in PubMed where you can see that exosomes can reverse senescent cells, prevent frailty, improve health span, against degeneration, brain aging, Alzheimer's, so on. A very interesting study from Steve Horvath, that is a peer at Altos Labs. So really different companies in the longevity space are looking at exosomes and how EVerZom, what are the key advantages, what is doing in the space EVerZom. So our vision for us is to build really a platform with key focusing areas. So on our side, we really focus on digestive wound healing. I will go into details, dermatology, liver regeneration, and ophthalmology. But the idea is to build partnership with our platform to be able to tackle any kind of disease. And one of the key bottlenecks in the field is biomanufacturing. There is a need to have technology to really to increase the yield and diminish the costs to be able to industrialize it and to give to the patient the products. So we have built a kind of innovation platform, so built around 5 patents with key technological blocks around the cells, the manufacturing, and the formulation. And for each block, we have different technology and research program. Our key technology is based on fluid mechanics and is mostly the manufacturing technology. So the idea is to apply turbulent stimulation, so kind of shear stress on the cells, in a bioreactor. And thanks to that, we can produce 10 times more exosomes in 1/10 of the time. The fluid mechanism, the fluid parameters that we control is the Kolmogorov length, so it's quite similar to the Reynolds number for those who have done a bit of fluid mechanics. And it's really scalable, and it's adapted to GMP manufacturing. So GMP manufacturing is like CE marked, but for biomanufacturing. And the idea of technology is a kind of physiological idea. So when you are doing sports, your heartbeats elevate and the shear stress inside your body elevates. And you have much more circulating EVs in the body. And so we wanted to mimic this physiological power phenomenon inside a bioreactor and then to inject these EVs. So if I'm taking an example with our method and traditional methods, let's say that we want to produce a dose that is what we are going to produce for a clinical trial that is around 100 patients. That's we with our methods, we have very high yields and very low production time. So only one bioreactor is sufficient and only 4 liters of volume. When you take traditional methods, the yield is much lower. So you need tons of, it's 2D, so it's like Petri dish, 2D flask, 100 liter, it's much more time. It's much more costly and much more difficult to industrialize. With this technology, we have already different partnership worldwide. That is more research proof of concept, but that is giving us a bit of revenue. So it was $500,000 last year. It will be 1 million this year, and we have collaboration in US, Europe, Asia, European project with Omnispirant on lung cancer, for instance. We work with academic biotech. We have also some discussion with cosmetic company because exosomes is becoming very famous in the cosmetic world, and veterinary companies. So very kind of new biology for defense. So we have the IP portfolio. Do not hesitate if you have questions. And so the idea for this platform, our platform, is to show that into the clinic, into the patient, it's safe. So we need a kind of proof of concept to drive the platform so that we de-risk it, especially in the patient. And so we have chosen a complication of autoimmune disease, that is the Crohn's disease. So I guess you are already familiar with that, but it's autoimmune disease that impact the digestive tract. And one of the main complications is fistula. So you have on the right a small skin. So it's on the rectum, like you have a kind of second rectum that's kind of horrible, that is going into your middle of your ass, and you have two rectums. So it's very, very painful for this patient. They need to live with diapers. They have very low condition of life, sometimes with STOMI. Well, it's horrible. And 40% of Crohn patients will develop this during their life, and only 40% succeed to close their fistula. So there's 60% of the patients that have very low quality of life. So it's 200 patients worldwide currently, and 20,000 new patients per year. So based on the benchmark and all the treatment, we can estimate that it will be 50,000 reimbursement price by health authorities. So we can estimate a 10 billion market opportunity. The way it works in practical, I'm going to show some results in animal, is that we have a technology to mix our exosome with an hydrogel. So we can really deliver it inside the fistula and having a kind of gel that releases the exosomes. And it's very optimal for healing. So we have made different studies, so 8 studies in animals, where we had different models. So we created the fistula. Animals do not have the fistulas by themselves. So we work with Hôpital Georges Pompidou with gastroenterologists to create the fistula in rats and in pigs. And we could show that compared to a control of 12%, we can heal by 87% pig. So really strong results. In terms of development plan, so the idea first is to move to the clinic and to inject patient to prove the safety. We are at what is called the unmet. So unmet is regulatory tox studies. And just after the fundraising, we will start the admits. Then we have the clinical trial authorization, and then first in human, so mid-2026. We plan another development in Werner disease. So Werner is kind of dermatology disease. We have also interesting proof of concept in heart regeneration and eye regeneration. So really kind of possibility to move the platform, but we need to focus on proof of concept constrained budgets. We have also some industrialization budget and drug discovery. So far we have raised, well, it's not raising, but received 7 million of financing. So around 1 million in equity and 6 million in non-dilutive. And now we are, so the idea is to have a next financing round until the end of 2027. And for that, we are raising 20 million, 10 of it in non-dilutive funding in grants, and 10 of it in equity. And really the key milestone is to succeed our clinical trial and to build a partnership and industrialize our technology. At the end of that, we would have created enough value to be M&A compatible. Usually some pharmas are buying programs or making partnership after clinical trials. Or the idea would be to go much more further with a significant fundraising, either private or going public if at some point the IPO market reopen. In terms of previous commitments, so we have already 9 million of committed funds for this round. That is from French VCs, family office, and we also have the European Investment Bank. We were laureate from what is called the EIC Accelerator, so we had some subsidies, and now we have some equity from the European governments. In terms of teams, we have built a kind of multidisciplinary team with pharmacists, biotech engineers, and pharma people, as well with physicians. So led by myself and Jean Volatron, so medical team, industrialization team, drug discovery, business admin, and finance. In the medical team, we have someone, so Dr. Marie-Paul Richard, that was the ex-CMO of Tygenix, that really work on stem cells, that get already some market approval and led some phase 3. So she's very aware of pharma developments. We have a strategic, scientific, and clinical board. So strategic board is CEO of the biotech ecosystem, our first business angel, so Thibaut de Tessier and Laurent Bracco. Scientific board is really worldwide expert in the exosome field that are our scientific co-founder as well, and CSO from biotech in France. And also we have a clinical board that are gastroenterologists and hepatologists. We are looking at ideas to have more someone that is on general aging conditions. So very happy if you have connection to make. Thank you so much for your attention and really happy to answer any question.
Thank you, Nicolas. Outstanding presentation and outstanding project. Exosomes is one of the most promising fields in regenerative medicine and longevity in general. So happy to see one of the projects pitching here. So Jehan had a question. Maybe Jehan, do you want to ask it yourself?
Sure, let me unmute. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So question so is the source of these stem cells, exosomes, is the source umbilical cords? What's the original source?
No, we're taking adipose-derived tissue stem cells. Why? Because it's garbage from liposuction. So very convenient, and we have a kind of providing system with the French blood transfer establishment and with a hospital that is near us that is giving large quantity of fat tissue. So and we have.
Are you familiar with Takeda with developing something of similar line? I think they may have either sold it or not continued for perianal fistulas.
Yeah, exactly. That's also why we are taking this direction of working with fistula. So the treatment is Alofisel.
Alofisel, yes.
Yeah, they succeed in Europe, but they failed in the US because of all the issue that I was introducing of really complicated logistic of stem cell products. And that's now why the industry is shifting to exosomes, because it do not have logistical issues, because it's not living cells.
So the technology, the patent technology that you have is, one is the manufacturing process, and second is the unique combination with the gel. Is that what it is? Because obviously stem cells you can't really patent, or exosomes you can't patent.
Yeah, exactly. No, the patent is on the exosome production and the hydrogel formulation. We are developing at the moment immortalized cell line as well, so we do not have to rely on donor. And so we will have IP on our own cell line. We are looking at knocking down the telomere and so having immortalized stem cells that also could be very
So
clinical.
why, just so I'm sorry for the tough question. Why do you think that you would be successful versus when Lofisel was not? Just out of curiosity. What?
Um, so first point is because well, exosomes, it's much easier to use than cells. So really, we
Okay.
think it's a key advantage. The second one is we have our formulation technology that gives us much more efficient biodistribution. And last one, we are working with a team that developed Alofisel, so Dr. Marie-Paul Richard, and she know all the error that was made in the development. So we are doing our development knowing all the error of Alofisel.
Okay, got it.
So for instance, one of the key error that they have is they did not do a dose ranging by number of fistula. So we are changing the posology of Alofisel.
Okay. And just the other thing, and this is from my just understanding. I mean, because you find when you travel the world, there's always some clinic that's promoting stem cells your or stem cell therapy or some sort of exosome therapy, in terms of for for beauty treatment or for hair growth or for autism or for what have you. It's all over the place. How does this, like, how do you compete with that? Because it just seems like it's everywhere, and people are, whether or not it's real stem cells or not is a question. But what you can get in the gray space versus, I mean, you can get these treatments in some fashion or the other without going through the regulatory process. So how do you sort of how does that hurt or help you in terms of getting into the market?
Yeah, no, good question. I think the real difference is that there are very gray clinics that are not recognized by FDA and sometimes have some trials against the FDA. So if you get the recognition of the FDA, then you are like the key player, recognized player, and these clinics will close. So this is the first point. The second point is most of these clinics are providing autologous treatment. I'm not sure that, well, you have a huge viability. And last point is the price. Like if you go to the FDA, you get reimbursed by health insurance, or in Europe, like the Alofisel treatment was reimbursed at 50,000 euros. Whereas if you go to these clinics, you are going to pay 10,000 by your own pocket, and it's
Okay,
not
got it.
reimbursed by health insurance. So it's like a gray market that I think helping in the way of democratizing stem cells, but in the same time, it's kind of damaging because some people are testing it without really knowing, without having the control of the health authorities. And so it's I would say mixed feeling, but it's interesting that it exists. But at some point, you need randomized studies. And this is what we're trying to do, I would say, in the clean routes. In the same way, like at the moment, we are discussing with cosmetics company to see if we can have a kind of easier regulatory pathway to build on our platform and uh, to also democratize that. But in Europe, it's totally forbidden to use stem cells for cosmetics. We can only
Okay.
work with plant-derived exosomes or bacteria-derived exosomes. So at the moment, we have also project with bacteria exosomes and plant exosomes with very first discussion with cosmetics, large French companies.
Okay. Thank you so much. Makes sense.
Another question, Nicola. Why have you chosen fistula as the first target for your platform?
So for two reasons. The first one, it was just discussed before. It's because there is a kind of, I would say, antecedents and already existing treatment with stem cells from Takeda, that is the Japanese. So it's Alofisel, the products. And why it's very important is because now when we are discussing with clinician and with hospital, they know about alophy cell and of stem cells. So the market is open. We do not have to change the mentality. And we are saying, okay, we developed the 2.0 version of this product. And it's much more easier while explaining the physician what is stem cells, what is exosomes. So when they arrive, they say, okay, we know all the drawbacks of alophy cell. It has been withdrawn from the market. So we are very confident of what we're doing, and they are very motivating to give us patients. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that is a localized application. Localized and also because it's very good for statistics. So in terms of localization, so either you make IV products, I don't know, intravenous products, or you make a localized product. And for regulatory bodies, it's much more easier to have a localized product that is not going everywhere in the body. So in terms of safety, like it's I would say easier to sell to regulatory bodies that are less stressed about what you are going to make, and that asking much less constraint on safety and so on. And last point is statistics. Like, I don't know if you take Alzheimer for instance. Alzheimer, you do not have clear tests to say, okay, you have 50% or 70% of Alzheimer. It's more based on of quality of life. It's more based on the feeling of the patient. And so, and the first time and second time it takes times. We wanted something that is a 1 or 0, like very clear cut for statistics. So for us, a fistula, either it's open or either it's closed, and you can measure it with optical measurement. Like you make a medical imagery and you say exactly, well, the volume has decreased by 30%, and so on. So this is much easier for your statistics because you get rid of patient feeling.
Very interesting. Thank you. Another question I have is what are the 10 million, I mean, the 20 million you're raising in non-dilutive and dilutive funds are going to be used for?
Well, I think I have a slide for that. Probably that would be easier. Okay, up, much easier. Yeah, okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So just in terms of non-diluting funding, so well, you have like 3 million of research tax credits that is usually granted from the government for a strong history on research tax credit, and we are looking 5 million on non-diluting. We already have 3 million that we receive. Well, that is conditioned to fundraising, but that we have from the French BPI under France 2030 scheme. So we are quite good on the non-dilutive funding. So in terms of use of proceeds, we have like around 6 million that is going to the patient and clinical trials. Then we have all the biomanufacturing. So CMC, it's both producing the product for the patient and scaling up. So CMC is like I would say the word for biomanufacturing in pharma development. Then we have 1.5 of tox studies in rat and pigs, development of our platform, the discovery, and then 3 million of business development and of building all the management and so on. So it's, if we go into details, like a clinical trial could be costly because it's not health insurance that are paying. So per patient, we are paying 60,000 euros per patient. We have a management firm that will help us to recruit the patient, to build all the relationship with the hospital. And so you have kind of fixed costs and variable costs per patient. But we're having trials with around 50 patients. And so that's going to 3 million quite easily. And in terms the other way to see this budget, 20 million, we have 10 million that will be subcontracted and 10 million that will be internal expenses, 4.5 of HR spent, leasing of equipment. We have lots of bioreactor, very specialized microscope, lots of consumable and others.
Very promising. What would be the next target after fistula, according to you?
I think so. We have, and that is, I would say, in between and localized. We have some promising data in mice for eye regeneration and dry AMD, so age macular degeneration. So age macular degeneration, we have a good partnership with the Israeli academic team that have all the model and the knowledge for dry AMD. And so we have already data, it's published, and we think it's like a very big market. It's more relating to aging. Crohn is more related to autoimmune disease, and dry AMD, like it's 20 million patients worldwide. So we think it can be very huge if we have a treatment. And after that, like we are looking more intravenous treatments. So we have some data for liver regeneration, and I would like to go to brain aging at some point.
Wow, super exciting. I don't know if you've read the book by Tony Robbins called Life Force. He tells the story of a rotator cuff who was torn, and he used stem cell treatments to have his rotator cuff regenerate. Whereas the alternative would have been surgery, which would have diminished his ability to move his shoulder, which was unacceptable for him. I'm surprised at how far this technology can go. Do you think it's serious, or what's your take on this?
You mean
What he's done, and if it really worked, or it's a sort of
no, I really well.
storytelling?
No, I really think so. Stem cells are working well. The thing that is so first is like there is not enough standardization at this point. So sometimes it will work just magically, and sometimes it's not, and it takes time to really understood the mechanism of action going through exosomes. So now that we have understood exosomes, there's still things to I would say settles in the field and to continue to industrialize. So that's also why we bring our technology. But I would say like research in stem cells began 30 years ago. So now we have quite a very strong insight, and I really think that the exosome will take, well, probably will take 10 years really to reach maturity, but once it will reach maturity, I really think it would be amazing.
Wow. Are we able to understand a little bit and to dive into the complexity of those exosomes, or is just we perturbate the cells, stuff goes out of it, and we use it, and we don't ask any more questions?
No, not at all. Took. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yeah.
So the question that you have is in a way
Yes.
mechanism of
Something
action.
like
How does that
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there are two main things, like you have protein and acid nuclei. So the bioactivity is done by a combination of both. And we have made all different subtests with immune cells. So the mechanism is modulating inflammation and tissue regeneration. So that's the way you work. And you have for each, I would say, sub action, like suppression of pro-inflammatory cytokine, the way it's impact macrophage, T cells, Treg, and the way it's create angiogenesis. For it, that we have a specific acid nuclei and MIR. So MIR is quite close of mRNA, but it's not exactly the same. And you have growth factor like VEGF, FGF, interleukin, and so on. So we are like there's around 1,000 protein and 1,000 MIR inside the exosomes that we are characterizing. So we're doing sequencing, proteomics analysis to really understand what is going on. And after that, our job is to make subtests to show to the regulatory bodies, like we understand what is going on, and you see like how does it impact in vitro the human by doing different, I would say, potency assays. What is it's really cool. So we really know what is in the standing. Currently, I would say what we are trying really to understand was we stimulate the cells. What is really going on and why do we increase this EV production? We know that's really its work. We know that it disrupts the membrane, but it's not cutting into pieces the cells. Like at the end, our cells is like very viable. So it's kind of, you reach the optimal frequency of vibrating your cells and now you have the peak. And this is something that we have found, but we do not totally understand the best pathway, but we know that when we inhibit the cells, so we take like chemical inhibitor of mitochondria, the phenomenon stop. So it's like an active reaction of the cells to mechanical stress. But what is the best molecular pathway into that? We do not understand, but we not need to understand all the biology to the
To make it
importance for
work.
regulatory bodies and to move on is to make sure that we have consistent things inside the exosomes, and this is what we can measure and show.
Yeah, very, very promising. Thank you for the clarification. Anyone has any questions? We are coming close to the end of the session. Okay, guys, I guess there are no more questions. For me, very interesting. I will look closer into this and eventually get back to you. Oh, yes. What's the minimum ticket size you're accepting in your investment?
Well, I would say we are quite open. The question is, so we are creating SPVs. So it depends if it's direct investment or SPVs. So we do not have minimum tickets as long as is. So we are creating two or one SPVs. It's likely that we are going to do a quad equity campaign. So it could be the investment could be through the equity campaign. So we're creating a SPV with business angel. So and for that we do not really have minimum ticket. If it's direct investment, like for the moment the minimum ticket it's $500,000, but very open to discuss. And we do not have a real minimum.
I understand.
It depends how the round is closing.
I understand. Very interesting. Thank you, Nicolas, for the presentation. Congratulations for working on this very promising technology, exosomes, right?
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Again, everyone will have your contact information and we'll be able to reach out to you directly. Keep us updated if anything comes out of this pitching session. We will be more than happy to help longevity startups or with longevity potential at least raise funds. Thank you very much, everyone, and see you next time. Bye-bye.